Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3ABN Today. We're going to be your hosts for this next hour. My name is Ian Vandervalk, and this is my beautiful wife, Angela. We are just so happy to have you join us, and I am really excited for this next hour. I know I've said that before, anytime my wife and I get to sit in these seats, but I'm just really excited because this next hour, we're going to talk about a program that is somewhat near and dear to my heart because it is something I got involved with in some aspects in my military career, but we'll touch on that a little bit later.
Okay, our guest today is Andrew Saunders, and he's coming from the Union Adventist University International Rescue and Relief Program Director. Welcome, Andrew. We're so happy to have you here at 3ABN.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I'm really excited because I know by the end of this hour, you are going to want to get involved somehow, if not financially. You may even want to join this program.
It's a really cool program. It's a four-year bachelor's degree at Union Adventist University, and it was developed back in 2004. And the founder, Michael Durson's vision for it was to be a program to train missionaries on steroids. And originally it was like 8 years long, and we were going to get like helo training and like, weapons handling and parachute and all kinds of really cool stuff. We pared it down into something we're really proud of in 4 years, and we have 3 different emphases. You can do pre-med, pre-dent, pre-PA on that pre-professional track, we call it. We have public safety for those who want to do like law enforcement, EMS, fire. And then we have global community development for those who want to focus more on like emergency management, international humanitarian aid, even like stateside, like FEMA or state level emergency management.
Wow.
So different ways you can go with the program. It's a huge honor to be part of it and kind of teach that next generation of first responders and go beyond just the physical training and how to help somebody after disaster, but actually like care for people holistically and their emotional and spiritual needs too.
So what kind of students are you looking for? Kids from coming right out of high school or what?
Yeah, so high school graduates who want to go to university, get their 4-year bachelor's or an associate's, and come to our program, and people who really want to step outside their comfort zone, willing to seek discomfort to make others more comfortable, and really want to use their skills to like serve God and community and make the world a better place. I have ADHD, I don't sit still very well, so I was like, this is the perfect pairing of my passions and what I want to do. So it opened my eyes to what was possible. I actually went on and got my master's in international development instead, and then went and worked overseas. So I was a missionary in a different sense. I worked for ADRA in like Ukraine and Iraq and Somalia, and I worked in several other countries. And but conflict zones have been kind of my passion.
So tell us about that program. Like, what do you do? Because you said you can't stay still. So when people like, say my son, he's getting out of high school soon. So he goes there, and what does he get to learn? What is like a day like there?
Yeah, so we start off focusing more on like stateside emergency management based, and then we transition more into like public health, and then we move into the international aspect at the end of the program. So freshman year, our students get their emergency management training where they learn all of like the best practice in emergency management, like FEMA skills, disaster response skills. We actually run mock scenarios and tabletops, and we get to coordinate with like the city. This last year, we actually got to play with the airport authority. They simulated a crashed aircraft and worked with the National Guard and the Airport Authority, Lincoln Fire and Rescue, Lincoln Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, the troopers, Air Guard, Army Guard, United Airlines, all the big players were there. We got to be part of that. Our patients were the patients for this scenario. It was a lot of fun to prepare our students to get the licenses and certifications they need to work professionally. They can take those really anywhere in the world. Rescue 3, who we use, they have trained over 1 million first responders, and so they can take that with them when they graduate. And they get to use those skills. And after they get that training, they get to join our disaster response team. We deploy all over the world, really. We've deployed nationally here in the U.S. post-hurricane, flood, stuff like that. But we've also gone to like the Philippines and Malawi and Haiti and other places with our response team.
So are they in the classroom all day, half a day? And like, when do they even get to go out?
We try to apply everything we learn. We get the theory base. There is obviously some lecture component, but we try to apply it as soon as possible. So EMT, for example, is flipped classroom where they actually do most of their tests and quizzes and reading before class, and then the whole class period is spent actually running calls. We have an ambulance built into the back of our classroom.
Really?
We have a high fidelity mannequin.
That sounds really fun, though.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
And they can get their associates in science and everything?
Yeah, so you can either do an associate's, the 2-year degree, or the bachelor's, the 4-year degree. And either way, it sets you up for success in the industry.
So how does a program such as this even get started?
The founder, Michael Durson, he's an ER doc, and he is also like this type of person. He was a medic on a SWAT team, and he's climbed Denali, and He's into skydiving and weapons handling, all kinds of stuff. He doesn't sit still either. So his whole vision was, how do we give students practical skills that actually can go out and serve in these types of environments where people actually need help on, post-disaster or even pre-hospital care or whatever else. So yeah.
And I love the motto. I don't know if this was the motto from the beginning, but a career of adventure, a lifetime of service. So explain to us, what does that mean for the school?
So a career of adventure, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Like for us, we believe that, God uses your passions to actually try and, set you up for success in how you're going to serve. And so I think, I'm sure you guys have found your passions here in this ministry, and I think we're trying to set our students up for that in their career paths. And so with that career of adventure, we're out there, we're often working in conflict zones, post-disaster, austere environments, internationally, nationally, and like some of us have that kind of adrenaline junkie kind of a thing, but now how do we use that to actually serve somebody?
Right.
So then that a lifetime of service comes in. So harnessing that passion, that skill set that God gave us to actually serve others, I think is really what we want to emphasize. Like I mentioned, Dr. Michael Derson, who began the program, had the vision. He actually pitched it to several different schools. I'm not sure the full list, but it kind of went around different universities. And I know that Union was not the first choice. It was his alma mater, but there were, there's other schools and areas that actually lend themselves better geographically to some of the training that we do. But it was Union that actually had the vision to be able to take this on and saw the potential of what it could actually do to serve people. So we've actually just had our 21st birthday as a program. And I've been blessed to be involved since 2008. And the program actually began in 2004, and it was a miracle story for someone to actually see this, because it doesn't meet the traditional norms of a 4-year bachelor's degree. And so for Union to be able to take that on, and now we have over 70 students in the program. We've got hundreds of graduates out there actually being effective with the degree and making a difference for people out there. So
what can students do after they receive their, it's a BS, right? A Bachelor's of Science.
Yeah.
So what can they do with this afterwards?
Yeah, so actually on our webpage, there's actually an interactive map where you can kind of go see. Some of our graduates have given us permission to share what they do now that they've graduated. And we have people that are like U.S. Marshals, Special Forces, military, like Army Rangers. We've got people working in faith-based organizations, disaster response, Gideon Rescue Company. Brock Meyer and Corey Meidel came through our program.
Oh, wow.
We have people working in like wilderness therapy, using their skills to work with at-risk youth in the outdoors. We have doctors, PAs, nurses, people worked for the CDC, people working overseas internationally in like Thailand, Chad, Ukraine, Iraq, Papua New Guinea, Sierra Leone.
So this is very, very multifaceted, where it's not just, I guess, one streamlined area and you can only work in this one specific, focus. It actually, this kind of degree can send you out into different areas, and not just countries, but also different occupations as well.
Yeah.
And I really like because we were talking about it earlier before we started the program, about the map that you guys have on your website, and I was poking around, kind of checking it out and seeing the different things that some of the students are involved in. And I thought it was kind of funny because, I'm from Florida, so I clicked on the one in Florida. I was like, oh, I want to see what they've done in Florida. And of course, it was a disaster relief for Hurricane Ian.
We do have grads there too.
Yeah. So, but I just thought, to see where you guys make an impact isn't just your local community and in Nebraska, but it's really worldwide, and everything they get involved with, and that's just, I think, is really inspiring. But also, I think, for those people who don't like to sit still and like to get their hands in different things and also experience the world. But not only that, but just to see how God can use them.
Maybe to move back a little bit, we tell students to think of it more like a business degree, where it doesn't, like you said, put you down a single path.
Right.
It opens up a lot of doors. And so I've actually, being a graduate of the program, I've actually done a couple career changes myself now. So I started in humanitarian aid working for ADRA. I then moved into emergency management, came back to the States, I worked for the Red Cross and the Medical Reserve Corps. Then I came back to teach for Union. So now I'm in higher education. I'm now working on my doctorate in public health. and I'm almost done with that. So I'm thinking of like leaning more into that in the future once my time at Union is done. And if you don't sit still well, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to continue to build on your skill set and be able to move into like different areas that you find it as an interest. It doesn't silo you in one 50-year career path for your whole life.
Now, somebody that wants to come and join this program, do they need to have like any experience, or they can just go on in and they learn everything there, right?
We do encourage people to kind of take on like personal skill sets. So like the more outdoor experience you have, the better. So like rock climbing, rafting, hiking, backpacking. The more personal skill sets you have, the more you can bring and contribute to the program. But most of our students just come in 18 years old, just graduated from high school. And
is it any age? Like if I wanted to go, am I too old?
No, actually, but the oldest student in my program right now is 48.
Really?
So yeah, we have a lot of non-traditional
so I'm
students
there.
as well. Yeah, and we actually have students find us from all over the world. We've had people from Thailand, Bahamas, from Africa, and like our program is listed on the FEMA website as like an emergency management degree, and we're the only ones that I know of that offer like a hands-on component. And so the guy who's joined us from the Bahamas, for example, he's in the Bahamian Defense Force, and the government is paying for him to come and take our program so he can go back and bring this training for them after, to use after hurricanes and things like that. So there's actually some interesting studies out there showing that young adults, we've actually created a world that is too safe. And mental health research, we're actually showing that playgrounds have actually become too safe, for example, where children don't actually learn the limits of what they can actually do. So they don't even learn how high is too high to fall, how fast is too fast to run, and so they don't actually get injured enough and actually learn their limits. And so without understanding your limits, you actually have anxiety. And so there's actually a really good book called The Coddling of the American Mind, where they talk about humans being anti-fragile. Whether you look at it from a spiritual side, like say Jeremiah, where they talk about, I count it all things blessing, whether I go through trials and tribulation, versus like a secular perspective, where we talk about, the harder things, the more we do hard things and step outside our comfort zone, the faster we learn from our mistakes. And that's a huge component of it. We actually push students to seek discomfort and actually want to make others more comfortable and find those limits. And so students who come through our program often find that they can do hard things. They build grit, they build resilience. You see a need, and when you're bought into that mission, you want to actually be a part of pushing it forward.
I like how there were two different aspects, and you also mentioned it, like almost the dichotomy of leadership was leadership, but also followship. And I really, especially having my military background, a good leader also knows how to follow, because that sets the standard and the precedence for everything else. And also that they're not just a leader telling everybody, hey, this is what I want you to do. They're actively involved with it as well. So they're a participant. They're like a servant leader, as you would.
Teaching somebody the soft skills of like leadership, followership, servant leadership, never asking somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. Like those are harder skills to teach. And we do try and instill those in culture as well. But if you have the heart for it and you want to serve, come, we'll teach you the hard skills. We can help you with that.
Right.
And it's not just guys, right?
No, we're about 50-50 male-female.
50-50, that's awesome.
Yeah. And another aspect of the program is students who excel and do well in specific areas, they can try and become instructors in those areas. So whether it's technical rope rescue, swiftwater rescue, CPR, EMT, some of the project management skills, they can actually move towards instructorship in those areas. So not only is it helping our students, first-time students through those courses, but also those who want to excel and push further in those fields. They're building their training.
Parents are like, what do? I just want my kid to go away and get their bachelor's for 2 years, but they can't stay still. This is an amazing program, because I know my son, he really doesn't like school. He doesn't like to sit still too much, and he likes to be outside, so this is great for him. This is wonderful.
From my training in the military, we very much have this mindset of, train as you fight.
Yeah.
And so do you guys take that same kind of, I guess, make it as realistic as possible, but also with the safety standards set up in place? And do you guys do that as well?
Yeah, so we have a very similar saying, train as you work.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of it. Like we make our students wear uniforms when they're on training sites. We expect them to show up ready to work. So like using professional language, wearing professional uniforms, running scenarios start to finish, and then actually working with other professional agencies. So like I mentioned, like working with like the airport drill or when we're out at the summer program, we actually work with like Montezuma County Search and Rescue or other entities. We've actually trained with PJs in the past, and actually got to do some cool things like that. You know, when we're deploying, we're working with National Guard or
That's so neat.
FEMA or other agencies, like professional emergency managers, and so yeah, we start to finish, we want to train like we work, and set that tone of when you show up, you're in uniform, you're taking this seriously. We need to know our skills, and moving from a mindset of I'm doing the bare minimum of work to pass my class to what is the most I can get out of my class so I can help somebody in the future because I know what I need to know. Post-disaster, you know, we want to move. There's some amazing professional teams out there that are doing great work, but I think we have something extra to offer, like being a faith-based entity. Like we can go beyond just taking care of somebody's physical needs and helping them with food, shelter, water, whatever, into now let's have like deeper conversations and care about the whole person and their spiritual needs, their physical needs. You know, whether that's post-disaster on hurricane or flood or earthquake, or like if you're doing humanitarian aid overseas, like when I was working in Ukraine with ADRA, like, you know, when you care for somebody on their worst day, inevitably they're going to ask you, like, why are you here? Like, why did you leave the comfort of your home back in Lincoln, Nebraska, to come to North Carolina or Ukraine or Haiti or the Philippines or Africa to help me? Like, why are you here? And that opens up so many conversations as to, you know, moving into, oh, you know, let me tell you why I'm here. Like, this is what I believe, and these are my values, and where I draw those things and my strength, you know, from God, and actually being able to share some of your beliefs that way too.
They've helped that person either recover or save their life or whatever, or even just, you know, humanitarian need, or, you know, you're speaking to that person's heart without even mentioning Jesus. So you're meeting them where they're at, and then when you see those doors open, you're able to share your faith.
This summer, actually, when we were out in Colorado, we were, you know, doing our training out in the water park, and our trucks and trailers were out there, you know, say disaster response, Union Adventist University on them, and somebody walked up to us, and they had been one of our recipients of aid in North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. And she walked up to me, and she must have talked to one of our other team members first, because she called me by name, and she was like, Andrew, and she like walks up to me, and she was just crying, and she was like, you know, I'm from North Carolina, and you guys saved my life out there. And we were just able to talk with her over our lunch break, and just she was so grateful and like wanted us to know how much she cared about us, which was a huge boost for us. You know, sometimes we don't get to see the back end of our work, but that was a huge boost for us. And then for her, we were able to you know, have a deeper conversation and kind of move on. And like, you know, what are the odds of meeting somebody that we'd served in North Carolina, in Southwest Colorado, you know, on the same day that we were there for a one-day training in this water park. And that was a hugely meaningful conversation for me, and I hope for her as well. Like, and we had 5 of our students who had also deployed were there, and they talked to her, and we're all kind of sharing like what we've been doing since then, and like what our program is doing and our faith and everything. And that was like, I think highlights also one of the things I really like to talk about with our students is, you know, these communities are amazing, they're resilient, they're hardworking, and they're going to be recovering for years afterward. But, you know, we're there for 10 days, 2 weeks, between a week and 2 weeks, and it's just an honor to work shoulder to shoulder with these people and their recovery efforts, and to bring a bit of hope and joy, and, you know, the aspects of love of God that post-disaster, when things look bleak, to have somebody come from somewhere else to like bring hope, joy, faith, love, you know, Jesus' like caring aspects, is a huge honor to be part of that and work shoulder to shoulder with these communities. But we have been blessed to work with some incredible people out in the field, both in training and then in reality. So we were in Malawi after Cyclone Idai. We were there for the capstone semester, and then Cyclone Idai hit, and the Malawi Defense Force or the South African Defense Force were there like responding to the flooding, and it flooded almost the whole bottom third of the country, and there were places that were only accessible by helicopter. And so we were there, and the government knew we were there because we had, you know, gotten all the approvals to work with patients and everything. We had a medical director, and so they invited us to respond with them. So our team of students, doctors, nurses, got to fly around in helicopters and be first on ground to a lot of these affected areas. And we were setting up professional systems and things that they had trained for. And we would drop in, land on a soccer field, set up in a school, like a mobile health clinic, and we were treating 350 or more patients a day in some of these villages.
Wow.
They hadn't had access to healthcare for weeks at this point, days to weeks at this point. And so we were doing the disaster assessments, medical healthcare, and then like reporting that back to the Joint Operations Center in Blantyre in
Do
where they're
y'all
running
bring
operations.
your equipment and everything, or you use what they have? Because I know some of those countries, they don't have a lot. So how do you get 350 people, how do you get their medical attention, like the equipment and stuff?
Yeah, so we have some incredible donors for our disaster response team as
Okay.
well, and so we have some pretty awesome equipment in our disaster response cache already. So we have it set up so basically we can pop up in a parking lot and have all of our own comms, our own food, water, shelter, all taken care of. We have our medical clinic set up so we can pop up out of like these plastic totes and actually have like full pharmacies, triage,
Really?
curtains
Wow.
for like physical exams, all that kind of stuff. So it's
That's impressive.
all self-contained, and we can just crank through patients and see as many as possible in a given day, while still caring for their individual needs. So
Right.
yeah.
And at the end of the program, I think you touched on it a little bit. At the end, you kind of have a capstone, right? And you take them out to what was the name? Malawi,
Malawi, Africa.
And how long are they there?
So they actually get to be on ground for about 10 weeks. Some initial like onboarding for the first few weeks of this semester, and then 10 weeks on ground in Malawi. It's the fourth poorest country in the world, according to the World Bank, and they get to rotate through. The first week is cultural integration, living in a village with a chief, and he teaches like culture and language and politics and food and history and dancing, and they get to work in the farm and all kinds of cool stuff. And then we go to Malamulo Adventist Hospital, which is a well-known Adventist site, and it's also a training site for Loma Linda University School of Medicine, so you can go and actually do rotations there. So it's a teaching hospital, and they rotate through services there and take travel and tropical medicine and stuff there. We have a nonprofit we work with on ground that the global development students can work with and actually get like project management experience. We do a 6-day backpacking trip while we're there across the tallest mountain in Malawi and learn like leadership in austere environments. We do spring break and diving, and then wrap up with more clinicals, more project management, and then close out at a UN refugee camp. And then, of course, you have to do a safari before you leave Africa.
Of course. Of course. That's just incredible. This entire program, the degree, everything that is offered and given to the students, I'm just really encouraged. So,
and yeah, like I think this is our mission. This is something that we're committed to as the International Rescue and Relief Program is training the next set of first responders to carry on that and bring God's love.
I really enjoyed spending this time with you and just getting to learn about the program and everything that it has to offer. And I know it's just doing so much good around the world. And for you at home that are watching and listening, I just want to leave you with this. This comes from Numbers chapter 6, and it says, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." God bless you. Until next time.